What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team career mode, and we're here for round number 21 of season 6 of our Jaguar Racing career, and it is time for the Portuguese Grand Prix. I am looking forward to this one quite a lot. We always go well around Portugal. We tend to have pretty good races here. I've had wins here in the past, a long time ago now, but I have had one win and a few other podiums on occasion as well. So yeah, given the strong form that we've been in basically all season, you can see my results here, and from China onwards, every race that I've finished, because Miami and Spain the outliers, I have finished in the top 6 and in most of them in the top 5 even. So yeah, things have been going pretty well for us. I have decided, I said in the last video I would, I've decided to take the executive decision to increase the difficulty from 95 is what we were on before and going up to 98. If it proves to be too much, I might see it go down a little bit, but we'll see how things unfold. And yeah, just in case you were wondering how the championship was going, it's going. We have won the Drivers' and the Constructors' Championship, so not much to play for anymore, just pride now. But, you know, I still want to try and maximise the number of victories I can, just stat pad a little bit at the end of the season. And obviously there's other championships to wrap up. Charles Leclerc, my teammate, can still mathematically get P2 in the Drivers' Championship. I'd like to see him do that, but at the moment it's looking like that's going to go the way of Oscar Piastri in that McLaren, because he has had an incredibly strong season. And yeah, a few other contenders in the mix there. George Russell, Dennis Hauger in the Aston Martin, the surprise package of this season, currently sitting P3 in the Drivers' Championship with a real opportunity to get ahead of Oscar Piastri if he can have a few good races. He's had 3 wins this season. Oscar Piastri, by comparison, has had none. Which is really quite surprising, honestly. He's been in the mix for a few wins here and there. His biggest problem, the races when he's on form, I'm also on form. And we've taken 8 victories this season. So 9 victories even after Brazil now. So yeah, we've taken 9 victories this season. And Oscar Piastri, as a result, has not really had much of a look in. But hopefully this race for him, he will be able to have a bit more of a look in, because we are going to be taking a 5-place grid penalty due to a gearbox replacement. I assessed the situation, and it definitely did not seem like our gearbox was going to make it to the end of the season with the ones that we had allocated. So I've made the decision. I'm just going to take one new one, and yeah, hopefully we can go from there. And we won't have to take any more. Obviously, if the gearbox fails, then that would be a disaster. But only a 5-place grid penalty should be fine. We make our way into qualifying now, and you can see that we are on a fresh set of soft compound tyres. It's a 1:15.8 on our first flying lap. That's not great. Definitely room for improvement there, and hopefully we can find improvement as qualifying continues to go on. Make our way around the final corner on our second flying lap. Another fresh set of tyres. Are improving by about 2.5 tenths. So nothing remarkable, but we are going to cross the line, 1:15.5, and that is good enough to see us through to Q2 in P7. So yeah, like I said, nothing particularly standout, nothing particularly amazing, but I definitely feel like there's more pace in the car that we'll be able to improve with. Charles Leclerc in P6 as well, so pretty decent performance from him. But look at that, Jack Doohan going fastest in the Haas. Remarkable performance for the Australian driver, 0.02 of a second ahead of Lando Norris. And then knocked out in Q1, we have Stroll, Sargent, Dennis Hauger. Disappointment for the driver, who I'm sure would have been hoping that he would be able to try and close the gap to Piastri in the championship. That's just got a lot harder starting from P19 tomorrow. And then Fittipaldi, Joe and Gasly are the other drivers who are eliminated here in Q1. So yeah, the only real shock I would say there is Dennis Hauger. He's been consistently making Q2 and Q3 this season. So for him to be out in Q1, that's going to present a really big challenge for him to get himself back into the points come race day, especially when there's a projection that there will be some rain as well. But we will see how that ends up affecting the race. So we do our fastest time of the weekend so far on a used set of soft compound tyres at 1:15.5, and that leaves me optimistic that we have a bit more time to save as we make our way around on a fresh set of soft compound tyres. Now, we were in P5 even with that lap, so we were making it through regardless of what happened in my final flying lap, but we did manage to get a bit more improvement across the line. 1:15.3, we're through to Q3 and it's P4. That's a shame that it wasn't P3, because that would have been really, really pleasing to say. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers. And unfortunately, me, who's begging for Charles Leclerc to have a good performance and get into Q3, Cannot choose that, because if I could, I would. Because, yeah, P11 from Charles Leclerc, not really the kind of performance you're looking for. Knocked out in Q2 as well. De Vries, Sonoda, Pourchaire, Vesti, and Jack Doohan, the man who went fastest in the last session, has gone slowest in this session, and I'm sure that he will not be particularly happy with that. I'm sure he would have felt like Q3 was probably on the cards based on his Q1 performance, but yeah, no Q3 for Jack Doohan on this occasion, and we make our way into Q3 for us now. 1:15.1 on a used set of tyres. The track is ramping up, and maybe I'm getting more and more used to the way the car performs on the soft compound tyres. Not sure, because we are finding hella improvement. Make our way into the final sector, and we're actually down in our best time on a fresh set of soft compound tyres, but there's definitely time to make up here, and we are in fact making it up. We are currently a tenth ahead of where we are. We'll see where we come after we go through the final few corners. About 2 tenths up now as we make our way into the last corner, and we're going to save a bit of time through here as the tyres are a bit more grippy than they were before. So it's going to be about another 2.5 tenth improvement across the line to 1:14.8, and that is pole position. Very, very happy, and hopefully we will be able to take that pole position and use it to get another victory here in Portugal tomorrow.
Qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves of our top 3: Robinson, Norris and George Russell. Goodbye for now then, but we are really just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Yeah, you can't be too displeased with that. 2 tenths ahead of Norris and Russell there. And then Sergio Perez was P4, Lawson P5, Ocon, Albon, Piastri, Magnussen and Verstappen making up the rest of the top 10. Piastri will be feeling a little bit hard done by, I'm sure, because he definitely is going to need to improve quite a lot throughout the race tomorrow. And for us, it's just a case of leading away from the line, and hopefully we can get a victory as we make our way into the Portuguese Grand Prix.
Welcome along then to Portimao, one of the busiest towns in the Algarve and a breathtaking destination that brings tourists from all around the world to the shores of southern Portugal. Today it's the backdrop for the latest round of the Formula One World Championship, and with a circuit this wide, we could be in for a lot of exciting wheel-to-wheel action today. 2.9 miles of track at Portimao, featuring 15 turns, 9 to the right and 6 to the left. A lot going on at this track, a lot of elevation changes that will affect the driver's braking and acceleration. Keep an eye out for the DRS zone on the final straight, as that'll be the setup for a lot of today's overtaking opportunities. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Liam Lawson, Ocon, Robinson, Albon, Oscar Piastri, Magnussen, Verstappen, Leclerc, De Vries, Sonoda, Stroll, Sargent, Hauger, Teo Pourchaire, Fittipaldi, Joe, Gasly, Vesti and Jack Doohan. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? And it is great to be joined once again in the commentary box by Natalie Pinkham. Nat, how has the sport changed in your time working in it? Let's talk briefly about Lando Norris.
What a quality performance. The big question, though, is how does that translate on race day? Can they hold on to that lead? And let's see who's able to keep their tyres in that temperature sweet spot early on. You've got a great tyre warmer underneath your right foot, and the drivers need to make the most of that on the formation lap, or they'll skate wide at turn 1 on cold rubber.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
It's another one of those voice lines I think I've not heard once in 140 races, that whole thing about the tyre warm-up. I don't think I've ever heard Natalie Pinkham talk about that before, but maybe I just don't pay enough attention during the introduction of these races. Either way, starting from P6, I don't know what they were talking about. Lando Norris putting in a great quali lap yesterday. He's not even the man who got pole position. I just was taking a 5-place grid penalty. They knew this was going to be happening. But yeah, we will see what we can do on soft compound tyres, no less, as well. So this could present a bit of a challenge for us, because I do have a tendency to wear out a set of soft compound tyres quite quickly. Either way, we are going to be looking to jump as many cars as we can off the start here. We've got Ocon just ahead of us with the medium compound tyres, so hopefully we'll at least be able to get ahead of him. But yeah, we may have a few struggles in the later part of the stint here on the soft compound tyres, but we will see what we can do as the lights come on and the lights go out as we switch to the replay camera here. And you can see I've actually not had the best of getaways. I've not rocketed up the order like I would have hoped to, and we're actually coming under a bit of pressure from Albon behind here as well, and we've lost the position going through turn 1, putting a bit of pressure on, I believe this is George Russell. I think Ocon had a good start and Russell fell down the order, and we're actually going to dive up the inside of George Russell as we make our way up into the next straight, and he's tagged us there and we've gone round, but I think we've just about managed to recover it. He hit us twice, one of them sent us round, the other time corrected our spin, and you can see it's George Russell who's lost his front wing there. We've managed to escape with maybe very minimal damage, but certainly nothing as drastic as losing our front wing, and that is not how I wanted to start this race, and we've already dropped down a number of positions as a result of that. I think we're all the way down in P11 now, so outside of the points, and we're going to have a really strong race to fight our way back into the points now. We're behind both of the Alpha Tauris. We've had a mega start here. Stroll and De Vries making their way into the top 10. That is a really impressive performance for both of them, and we'll see where they are come the end of the race. But hopefully we'll be ahead of both of them regardless of what happens, because the Alpha Tauri traditionally doesn't have that great pace in it. As you see, I had a bit of an oversteer moment there and had to catch what was looking like it might be a spin. Struggling to warm these tyres up maybe, or at least struggling with the traction and the grip so far, as Lando Norris leads the race from, I think it's Verstappen then Lawson. So Lawson potentially looking for another podium in Formula 1. He's already had a few, and looking like he might potentially get another one here today. We make our way onto lap 2 now, and you see I've had another moment where it looked like I was going to send the car around, just went too deep over the curb there, and yeah, really struggling to get the car going here, and as a result we've actually, by the time we get to the end of lap 3, fallen out of the DRS range of the Alpha Tauris. That's how slow our pace is here. So perhaps it's not overly surprising that Oscar Piastri is looking for a move up our inside, diving to the inside, and he's going to make his way into P11 there. We've been knocked down to P12, and to make matters worse, we've got the surprisingly fast Aston Martin duo of Sargent and Hauger behind us. Both of them, of course, finishing on the podium at times this season. Hauger bagging 3 wins. You wouldn't rule them out, would you? You wouldn't rule them out of being able to get past me here, especially with how slow my pace has been. And here comes my former teammate, Dennis Hauger. We were teammates for 2 seasons before, back in seasons 3 and 4, I believe it was. Or was it? No, it was 2 and 3, wasn't it? But yeah, either way, Dennis Hauger making his way through on us. And once again, we've sent it so violently over the curb, we actually got a track limits warning for it. And Dennis Hauger has gapped us by 2 seconds in the space of a lap. That's the kind of pace we're working with right now. In other words, none. We're working with none pace, and that's why Logan Sargent was very capable of getting past us as well. I don't know if I've gone on the wrong kind of setup or what the issue is here, but whatever I've done, clearly it's not worked out for us. I don't know, maybe we've got some damage or something like that, but really struggling to keep the pace at the moment. So we just keep coming under more and more pressure from the cars behind. We've been overtaken by Piastri, we've been overtaken by Hauger, overtaken by Sargent. We couldn't catch the Alpha Tauris, and now my teammate, who somehow was all the way down in 15th despite the opening lap chaos, clearly he must have been held up by it, because yeah, he was all the way down in 15th. He makes his way ahead of us now, and hopefully he can set after scoring some good points in this race to keep ahead of George Russell and close the gap to Hauger and Piastri in the championship a little bit. We're coming under pressure now from the Alpines of Frederick Vesti and Pierre Gasly. Vesti goes up the inside. Gasly has a bit of a look in as well, and I mean, this race just seems like it's going from bad to very bad right now for us, because we just have absolutely no pace. We cannot stay with anyone. I don't know what's happened. We've looked absolutely imperious over the last 13-14 races. We've really not looked this bad at a race for a very long time, and all of a sudden, you know, we come to this bonus track and it's like we just have absolutely zero pace. So Vesti, he's gapped us by 1.5 seconds. Pierre Gasly, his teammate, he's now coming through to get up into P16. We've been pushed down into P17. At this rate, the only driver we're going to be ahead of is George Russell, the man who had to box on lap 1 due to having no front wing. And even that's not guaranteed the way we're going either. We managed to dive back up the inside of Pierre Gasly, sure, but I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to keep him behind. All we're really doing is just creating a gap to his teammate ahead, so I'm not really doing anyone any favours here by holding Pierre Gasly up. And you can see he's going to try and overtake us much in the same way that Frederick Vesti did on the previous lap. He doesn't quite manage to make the move stick, but he's going to stay around our outside. We're going to have to defend to the inside here, hope we have enough grip, and of course we don't, because we haven't had any grip all race, so why would we suddenly start now? We make a bit of contact with his rear wing, that holds us up, and that's going to allow Théo Pourchaire into the fight as well. Théo Pourchaire making his way up my inside, and with DRS and ERS, this is not even going to be a competition between myself and Théo Pourchaire, I would imagine. And he does have a bit of front wing damage there, you can see, which actually will make him faster in the long term. Meanwhile, Fittipaldi looking for a move up the inside as well, and actually he manages to make it as I have to back out. Being on the outside of that, I was just going to get punted off if I didn't back out of that. So we've only got about 2 more positions to lose. There's obviously a big gap from Doohan back to Russell, and yeah, the way we're going, we could genuinely finish this race in plumb last. We haven't done that since Saudi Arabia, since we had that absolutely atrocious race in Saudi Arabia. I am trying desperately now to keep Zhou Guanyu behind, but we just can't show any kind of pace around here. We are cooked, we are absolutely washed. And, well, we may be fried as well, quite frankly. Suddenly, I'm very hungry, but anyway, making our way to the end of lap 11 now, into the final sector we're about to approach. Jack Doohan looking for a move up the inside of us, and I got to get off these tyres, man. You know, I was supposed to be boxing on lap 13. I'm just going to put on a set of hards, and hopefully we can make it to whenever this wet period ends up being. Hopefully we can make it to there without having to change the tyres, or without having the tyres massively falling off a cliff again, because I cannot do this. I cannot do this any longer. We are going to be coming into the pits and we are going to be strapping on a set of hard compound tyres. We will be going to the very back of the race, but you would imagine George Russell on those medium tyres, he will have to pit again unless the rain comes at an opportune moment for him. He pitted on lap 1, so those tyres are already 11 laps old for him. And hopefully we'll just be able to recoup a few of the positions that we lost by showing some good pace on these hard compound tyres. And I mean, it was good stop time, so all that we have to do now is try and show the requisite level of pace to be able to make it to the end of the race without too much of an issue. So making our way through the final corner on lap 14 now, you can see this is when the cars around me started to come into the pits now, and we're finally going to be not in last anymore. We're going to get back ahead of Doohan, we're going to get back ahead of Zhou. We definitely won't get back ahead of Leclerc, but will we get ahead of Gasly? It seems like we will, as we switch to the inside, and we managed to be a full car length ahead of him by the time that we get to the corner in the braking zone. Very next lap, you can see Pierre Gasly though right behind me on those fresh medium compound tyres. He is going to be a big adversary here, and hopefully we can keep him behind for as long as possible. A few cars coming out of the pits we managed to get up there, including Fittipaldi and Pourchaire around the outside of Gasly to keep him behind. Sargent and Vesti just ahead of us. We've obviously been held up a little bit here, and yeah, we I think are just going to be running in 17th, although Russell does eventually come into the pits as well, and he is going to be behind us as well. So P16, Pourchaire, the driver, putting pressure on us. Seems Gasly's fallen back quite a lot actually, so I think he might have some kind of issue or something like that. So instead it's Théo Pourchaire in the Haas putting the pressure on us. We're going wheel to wheel with him through the first few corners. Will we be able to muscle him out there? Yes, we will. He's going to have the DRS going into the next corner. Will he be close enough to look for a move up our inside? I don't think so, not from the Frenchman on this occasion, and we do manage to keep him behind. But I mean, things are not looking good for us right now. We still don't seem to have the requisite level of pace. On this occasion, I think it's more to do with the fact that we are on a harder, older compound of tyre compared to everyone else. I think that's probably not helping much. So yeah, Théo Pourchaire, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for a move sooner rather than later. And here he goes up the inside, and we're just powerless to defend from that. Quite frankly, I could have defended further to the inside, sure, but what would that realistically have achieved apart from him sending it around the outside of me, which, you know, I'm willing to believe that he probably had the tyre grip to make that work, as we get too far onto the curb, and at the rate we're going, we're not even going to have DRS to Théo Pourchaire in front. And yeah, you can see 8/10 is the gap already, and as we make our way to the end of the following lap, it's 1.4 seconds is the gap. So I don't know how this is happening, but we just don't seem to have the pace to answer to literally anyone today, including Enzo Fittipaldi, who is going to make his way up into P17, and we are just falling further back down the order. We're going to see if we can stay with him, especially because he had a bit of an oversteer moment there. Dive up the inside of Enzo Fittipaldi, and somehow we've actually managed to get ourselves back into P17 here. Don't ask me how, because I have no idea. But as we make our way into lap 21, you can see my Season 1 teammate has stayed with me, and Enzo Fittipaldi dives to the inside, makes his way into P17 once again. Will we be able to stay with him wheel to wheel? Doesn't seem like it. just has a bit too much pace in a straight line to really keep us behind. But we'll see. We will have the DRS on him, and we're not going to be too far down on him because we haven't had an atrocious run through that sequence of corners this time. So maybe we'll be able to close back down Enzo Fittipaldi with the DRS. Certainly I would imagine the DRS will enable us to keep ahead of Joe and stay in P18 for the time being. But I mean, who knows? It still might not be enough, even with the DRS and the ERS, to get ahead of Fittipaldi here. We're going around the outside. We were wheel to wheel with him there going into the corner. Nowhere near the overspeed that you would hope for, but we have made our way back into P17. Immensely frustrating for Fittipaldi, I'm sure, but look, I'm racing for pride here. That's all I'm racing for. So I at least want to, you know, save some of my dignity in a race like this, where, you know, I entered the championship fight in China, and I ended my championship fight in the previous race, and there was a red flag. There was a red flag. What is going on here? Why has there been a red flag called? Let's find out, because this is going to massively change the outcome of the race. So let's have a look. This is Lando Norris, who was comfortably leading the race, and he's dropped it under his own power. Lando Norris had a real opportunity to win here again in this season, I think for the 4th time. But he has relinquished that now to, I believe, Sergio Perez in the Ferrari, Max Verstappen following him through, and Alex Albon in P3. So, yeah, a bit of an opportunity for us perhaps here. Change tyres, be on the same age of tyres as everyone else. We're going to be going on to a set of mediums to the end of the race, 10 laps. I don't think we've got another set of softs, and quite frankly, they were so horrible the first time round, I'm not really sure I want to take them again. So we are going to be using every compound of slick tyres in this race, and with the rain coming, there's a realistic chance we could also use one, if not both, of the wet compounds as well. Could we have a rare rainbow race here? Let's see as the lights come on. And the lights go out. And from P17 on the grid, we've actually had a pretty good getaway here. We're going to get ahead of Piastri and Pourchaire. Also ahead of Vesti, Sargent, Hauger, all of these guys. And there's been a big queue there, which I've managed to jump, go around the outside of quite a lot of cars. And we've made our way up 10 positions off the start there. I don't want to say that they were napping, but they were absolutely asleep. They were in a coma. That's how slow that start was for some of these guys. And we're now battling with De Vries and Norris over P5. Nick De Vries in the lofty heights of P5. How has he made his way here? I have no idea how he's done that, but he is battling away with Lando Norris. And eventually he will fall out of that battle. Lando Norris was fated to win this race, but unfortunately dropped it under his own power to bring out that red flag. He's now having to suffer the consequences of his own actions. As we make our way through the remainder of lap 24, you can see the skies are visibly darker than they were before the red flag. The rain is coming, it's just a question of how soon it's going to arrive. I think the first few drops are going to start to fall very, very soon. I wouldn't be surprised. I think you can see them if you look very closely on the screen now. There's a few drops of rain falling. So, who knows? Will the track actually get wet enough soon enough to the point that it will be worth going on to those intermediate tyres or not? We certainly won't get full wets. It's far too late for that. But this is Frederick Vesti in the Alpine. He was having a decent race, nothing particularly spectacular, but it will be coming to an end in that Alpine for the Danish driver now, because he has had some sort of mechanical failure, and that will spell the end of his race on lap 25. Becomes the first retirement from the Grand Prix. And here you go, lap 27, things suddenly got very, very wet, and that meant that we had to come into the pits to fit a set of intermediate tyres, still on the running in P7, I should say, on the medium tyres. And yeah, we're going to be coming in intermediate tyres to the end of the pit lane. There is a chance we might be able to jump a few cars here, given how busy the pit lane is. We won't get held up anywhere near as much as other drivers were. And somehow we've jumped De Vries and Verstappen and Norris in the pit lane there, and we have made our way up into what will be net P3. I think we jumped Lawson as well, actually, who was running towards the top end of the grid as well. So we've gone from P7 to P3, and somehow in this race we have frauded our way onto the podium. This is, as we look at Jack Doohan here retiring from the race, becoming the second retirement of the Grand Prix, this is by far the most fraudulent Grand Prix I think I have ever driven. We were down in P17. I was broke. I was a complete joke. I was the laughing stock of the field in this race. I had nothing to show for the fact that I got pole position in the qualifying session yesterday. We started from P6. We fell down the order because of an early incident with George Russell. We fell further down the order because we had absolutely no pace whatsoever. on the restart, we managed to make our way up 10 positions because of a few people going slowly. And now, due to a favourable pit stop position, not even strategy, but just the position of our pit box, we have made our way into P3. We had Nick De Vries for company, who is going to get a P4 here in this race, which is absolutely unbelievable. So he could still deny us a chance of getting a podium here. It would be a first podium in Formula 1 for Nick De Vries if he can beat me to the line here. But either way, this is a robbery. I have robbed this race I've robbed this podium in pure daylight. There is no other explanation for what's happened here. This is robbery, and we are going to cross the line to take P3.
So another excellent win from Ferrari. So, Natalie, what made the difference out there today?
Well, they managed their tyres to absolute perfection. A tyre whisperer, in fact. And that is what set them apart.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit, familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari, do it again.
Sergio Perez takes his first victory in that Ferrari since joining the team back in Belgium. It is Alex Albon in P2, and there I am, stood up on what could only be described as the most deserved podium I've ever got in my career. How have I managed that? That's the kind of thing that you see in someone's My Team career mode, and you look at that and go, oh, well, this is clearly scripted. But I've got nothing to fight for. What would the incentive be to script that?
Robinson increases their championship lead. Let's focus on driver of the day, Natalie Pinkham. Come on, who do you pick?
Well, there was a lot of incredible driving out there today, but if I had to pick someone, it's got to be Sergio Perez. Fantastic driving.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. The owner-drivers team moved to the top of the table. There is also a strong showing from the Mercedes team today as they make their way up the standings. Been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula 1 action. I can't wait to see what's next.
Absolutely unbelievable scenes there, and perhaps even more unbelievable scenes in the fight for P2 in the Drivers' Championship, as Leclerc scored only 1 point, Piastri, Hauger and Russell all failed to score. Norris and Albon kind of introducing themselves into that fight a little bit, but is it too little too late for those guys? It's looking like it's going to be a fight between Mercedes and Red Bull all the way to the end of the season now in this Constructors' Championship battle. Could McLaren get themselves involved? I don't know, but in any case, you know, we are still top of both championships. Nothing can dethrone us from those positions, and we can just look forward to having some fun in the last couple of races in Vegas and Abu Dhabi. I'm very much targeting that victory in Abu Dhabi in particular, because obviously that is a track that in 5 seasons of racing there, because I don't think that's a race that's been, oh no, it was absent from the calendar 1 year, wasn't it? So in 4 seasons of racing there, we've never had a victory there. I don't even know if I stood on the podium there. I can't remember a time that we have. I think my best result there was P4 in that season, where I was battling Lando Norris for the championship, and he won that race to get his first world championship, which denied me my first world championship. Obviously, since then, we've now gone on to win 2 world championships, so I'm pretty happy with that. And yeah, I mean, this race, what on earth was this race? I was so far out of contention for literally anything, even points would have been fraudulent after that. Getting that P7, I looked at that and went, that is, you know, that is fraudulent. That is pure, you know, just shithousery of the highest order for me to grab points in this race after the race I've been having, because I had no pace. It wasn't even like there was just that first lap incident. I was not showing any semblance of pace whatsoever throughout the race, and then all of a sudden it was like, you know, the red flag came out. I had a good restart. It got wet very quickly after the restart as well, which meant that I was able to maintain the position, because we all know I'm a little bit better in the rain than I am in the dry. And what do you know? Somehow I'm making my way into the podium places, just all down to that pit box position as well. That is legitimately, real talk for a second, legitimately something that I am hoping is going to be a thing in the next game, because it seems like the kind of thing that should be very straightforward and very simple to implement into the game. But I guess it's not something that many people consider a priority, but it is moving the pit boxes based on the position that you finish in the Constructors' Championship. season on season. So if in season 1, for example, you win the Constructors' Championship, in season 2, yours should be the first pit box. That's the way that it works in real life, so that's the way that it should work in the game as well, in my opinion. And it seems like something that should be not too difficult to implement. Obviously, I'm not a video game developer, so take every opinion I have with a grain of salt, but I just feel like if they can implement a relatively well-functioning AI that races with you and creates, you know, this immense drama and these massive storylines that we have year on year on year in our career modes, I feel like that's not going to be the hardest thing that they've ever implemented into the game. So yeah, I would like to potentially see that. Speaking of things I potentially like to see, Charles Leclerc. I think he needs to have some better performances in these last 2 races of the season, or we should have a real conversation about replacing him at the end of the season. Because I just don't think the performance has been good enough from him, so I want him to get at least 1 more podium in the last 2 races of the season, or he's out. But that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.